So, good afternoon, everyone. This is the articles that focuses on marginalized students in international, Philippines, and Asia. And the first article is international, which is marginalized students access to technology education by Wanda M. Kortku from the country of California. So, rationale of research. The purpose of this paper is to investigate how a teacher can disrupt an established curriculum that continues the circle of inequity of access to science, technology, engineering, and math. Curriculum by students in alternative education. For this paper, I will focus on the technology components of the STEM curriculum. Curriculum technology in the United States, if not, the world economy is developing at a rapid pace. Many areas of day-to-day living, from applying for a job to checking one's bank account only, involve a component of science and technology. The gap in technology education is emphasized between the haves and have-nots, which is delineated along socio-economic lines. Marginalized students is alternative education programs use this equipment for little else than remedial programs and credit recovery. So, from research for the research design, quantitative data analysis organize various types of data into categories and then examines the result of data regarding what categories and themes presents themselves. It is important to look for meaning based on established criteria and grounded theory or the pattern of data that appear as the data is analyzed. I use student engagement with the technology curriculum for my coding criteria. My journal and students' reflections were categorized and using the DOS coding software. I documented them themes that emerge from this type of data to identify pieces of information that may be of value to this study. Student work as analyzed to document their progress, completions of their selected activities, and demonstrate success and challenges they may experience while using sodio.code.org. So for summary of findings, the overarching themes from the study were based on my research question, which focused on the exploration of an alternative education program which inadvertently promotes educational stratification, in which education replicates social stratification. I then focus on my efforts to integrate a technology component with my students to disrupt an established curriculum. And finally, I unpack the impact of capturing students' voice during the description process. So for the conclusion, this study explored the possibility of disrupting the cycle of educational stratification by one teacher as a change agent in such in as much as this AEP accommodates students who are in at times difficult curricular circumstances. It's inadvertently promotes inequity, inequity of marginalized students in technology education. The input from the participations during the study allowed them the opportunity to participate at a deeper level, which would not have been captured using quantitative methods. The participants' blogs and interviews emulated their thoughts and feelings as they work on the project, providing insights on resistance and engagement. The participants displayed prior knowledge and self-esteem, which include confidence and family influence on the participants' willingness to try something new as they participated in studio.code.org activities. These factors, which revealed themselves from student blogs and interviews, are essential elements to consider when employing 75 a change in students' learning. So, second article is the Philippines, addressing the educational marginalized of the students in the Philippines. Author is Maria Santos and the, the country of the Philippines. Rationale of the research, this research aims to shed light on a challenge faced by marginalized students in the Philippines and explore strategies to address their education marginalization. Marginalized students include those from low-income backgrounds, indigenous communities, and other disadvantaged groups who often encountered barriers to access quality education. So for research design, the study employed a mixed methods approaching combining quantitative and qualitative data collection methods. The quantitative base involves surveys administered to represent sample of marginalized students across different regions in the Philippines. The complete phase include in-depth interview was marginalized students, their families, educators, and policymakers. This comprehensive research design allowed for the holistic understanding of the issue and potential solution. So for summary of finding, the study revealed several key findings regarding marginalized students in the Philippines. Firstly, it highlighted the significant barriers to education faced by these students, including financial constraints, lack of access to school, language barriers, and discrimination. Secondary, the research identified the critical role of supportive policies. The programs in mitigating education marginalization, and thirdly, it emphasized the importance of community engagement and empowerment to foster inclusive education. So for the conclusion, the research concludes that addressing educational marginalization in the Philippines requires a multi-dimensional approach. It emphasizes the need of comprehensive policies that address systematic inequalities, provide financial support, and improve access to quality education for marginalized students. The study recommends enhancing teacher training program to promote inclusivity and culturally responsive teaching practices. So for the third article is from Asia, examining marginalized learners in Asia, understanding challenge and fostering inclusive educational. Author is Dr. Lee Min from the country of Singapore. So for rationale, if the research rationale of the research. This article aims to explore the experience and challenge faced by marginalized learners in various Asian countries. By examining the unique circumstances of these learners, this study seeks to raise awareness about the barriers to education they encountered and purpose strategies to promote inclusive education, understanding, and the diverse needs of marginalized learners in Asia is essential for policy makers and educators to develop effective intervention that address the inequalities in access to quality education. So for research design, the research design for this study involves comparative analysis of existing literature and empirical studies conducted in different Asian countries. A systematic review of scholarly articles, report, and policy documents related to marginalized learners and Asia was conducted to gathering insights into their experiences, challenges, and potential solutions. The research also include interviews and focus group discussion with educators, policymakers, and representatives from marginalized community to gain a comprehensive and their understanding of the issues at hand. The summary of findings: the study revealed that marginalized learners in Asia face various challenges that hinder their access to quality education. These challenges include social economic disparities, cultural basis, linguistic barriers, inadequate infrastructure, and discrimination based on ethnicity, gender, and disability. Conclusion: the study concludes that addressing the challenges faced by marginalized learners in Asia requires comprehensive and content-specific approaches. Policymakers should prioritize the development and implementation of inclusive education policies that promote equitable access to quality education for all learners. This includes targeted interventions to address socio-economic disparities, cultural basis, and discriminator practices. So for my reflection, through this research, I found that executing a significant change in the established curriculum throughout the program was difficult. Educational stratification continues societal indoctrination by sorting students into predetermined rules based on political, social, and economic standards established by the dominant culture. It is vital to disrupt a system that continues to marginalize students and have the framework of alternative education to no longer be a dumpling ground and, and marginalize students who, through no fault of their own, have a variety of circumstances that separate them from the traditional education system. This research on addressing the educational marginalization of the students in the Philippines is a crucial to recognize the educational marginalization not only describes individual to the right to learn but also to be perpetuates border social inequalities. This research on marginalized learners in Asia, it becomes evident that there is a pressing needs to address the educational disparities faced by vulnerable groups in the region. As an advocate for inclusive education, this study inspires to me for work towards demonstrating inclusive practices in own educational contexts. And that's all. Thank you.